Greetings, YouTubers. 9 Democrat states, all 9 of those, voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016 and Barry Obongo in 2012. 2 have GOP governors currently. The other 7 are Dumocrats. All the legislatures are under Democrat control. So that's 9 states that lean Democrat, probably lean a lot more. It's a lot more than just leaning. 9 Democrat states have, as of October 4th, 2020, 37.665% of all COVID-19 deaths. That's 37.665. 665, yeah, 37.665, twisting my tongue there, of all COVID-19 deaths. These states are Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Washington, the dump known as Washington, D.C., which has a high homicide rate, high STD infection rate, a high rate of people getting high, Rhode Island, Delaware, and Maryland. Again, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, D.C., Rhode Island, Delaware, and Maryland. As of October 4th, 2020, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, D.C., Rhode Island, Delaware, and Maryland. That's everything but Illinois, or the lockdowns plus 2, as I refer to them in my literature. Check the links underneath the video. Those states had 1,056,777 cases. 1,056,777 cases of COVID-19. That's 14.434% of all cases, and 69,432 deaths. 33.44% of all deaths. Their death rate was 145.599 per 100,000. Illinois, on October 4th, had 300,043 cases, which is 4.098% of all cases, and 8,774 deaths, which was 4.225% of all deaths. Their death rate was 69.337 per 100,000. Those 9 states have a collective 37.665% of all COVID-19 deaths, but only 18.139% of the entire U.S. population. Notice the inverse relationship between their percentage of infections and percentage of all deaths. It's much different than the 7 states, or the non-lockdowns as I refer to them. It's much different than the 7 states that never had a shelter-in-place or stay-at-home order during the initial COVID-19 hysteria. Just New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, D.C., and Rhode Island, I refer to them as the lockdowns, not the lockdowns plus 2. This is excluding Delaware and Maryland, Delaware and Massachusetts, excuse me. Those states, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, D.C., and Rhode Island, had 908,833 cases, or 12.413% of all cases. They had 64,000 deaths, or 31.197% of all deaths. Their death rate was 159.435 per 100,000. The U.S. death rate on October 4th, 2020 was only 62.418 per 100,000. The non-lockdown states, those 7 states, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, Wyoming, Nebraska, and Arkansas, all have GOP trifectas, GOP governors, and GOP control of the legislature. I think those folks are just better than most Americans, and we are. Us Iowans are better than you New Yorkers. If you ever want to find out, come over, bring your best wrestlers, and we'll mop the floor with you. I think those folks are just better than most Americans. They gave their electoral votes to Donald Trump in 2016. I think this is why regressive Democrats want to nationalize everything. They want everyone to be as miserable as they are. Iowa doesn't have a huge problem with drug addicts all over the place, as do places that are run by Democrats like Baltimore. Nor do we have millions of fatherless children running wild in the streets setting fires, which is probably why we are doing a bit better than places like the Northeast, especially New York City, Baltimore, and the disintegrating city of Chicago. As of October 4th, 2020, the non-lockdowns, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, Wyoming, Nebraska, and Arkansas, had 355,208 cases, or 4.815% of all cases, and 4,330 deaths, 2.085% of all deaths. Their death rate was 31.720, which is basically half the U.S. death rate. Those states up in the Northeast and Illinois are bringing the rate up. Those states have roughly 4.103% of the U.S. population. What did Iowa and those other states do better than those Dumocrat strongholds full of white trash and diverse communities? What did those GOP-dominated states do better? Or perhaps their people are just better. This is something Bill Maher would appreciate, a little tough love. We're better than you. So if you see a Dumocrat screeching about more cases and more deaths, remind them that states that trend Dumocrat have a huge pile of dead bodies, and ask them to tell you what Iowa and those other states did better than those snooty, educated, supposedly educated, regressives up in the Northeast and Illinois, which is hemorrhaging population, by the way. Why does Illinois, Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit suck? Nobody wants to live there. And the people that do live there, most of them probably wish they weren't there. In 2010, and then I'm not going to read that off, but I'll leave this down there, the population, how I came to their population estimates for 2020. I just added up the rate of growth from 2010 to 2019 and then divided that and came up with it. So there you have it. 9 Democrat states have well over 1/3, 37.665% of all COVID-19 deaths. Yet they're only a little over 18% of the entire U.S. population. So why do Democrats suck so bad? Oh, one other thing I need to mention, and I got it at the bottom. Doesn't this kind of remind you of homicide rates? They are usually worse in diverse areas that have been ruled by Democrats for decades. I wonder why. Why are we seeing the same thing here? Why are Democrats such a failure? And why do they want everybody else to be such a failure? Is it easier to manipulate people who have no future? Is that why they fear nuclear families? Is that why Black Lives Matter hates nuclear families? Because you can't manipulate people that have something to lose? Have a nice day and pass this on.